So I wanted to do a follow-up with this regarding the New Jerusalem, because I said America. I want to further go into why it would make sense that America would be the New Jerusalem, but Israel would still be the old, and they would be it's not that they would not be significant. They would be the earthly kingdom. Because this kingdom, okay, because this is God's new heaven and earth, okay? So the whole temple of God would be America, okay? That would be the temple of God. We would be dwelling with God. But all the other nations, I mean, after the wicked aren't still there anymore. But those that are not, wicked, they still dwell in their countries. And God's light is what lights everything. So the old Jerusalem would be considered the old Jerusalem. They would be the earthly kingdom. Because see, this is way above the International Space Station. That's why up here it's all dark. We're above the skies, because the sun is no more and the moon are no more, because God himself, his throne, lights everything. But we dwell up here with him. The whole country is the church. This is why I think that all these churches everywhere. Oh. See, I think the reason I think it's America is that there's an old Jerusalem and a new, is really also based on the Bible. Because if I've said this before, when you look at the Israelites in the Old Testament, they're very toddler-like in their spiritual maturity. That's why God has to lay all these laws down, and he's constantly on them, and he seems like he's so, that he's this scary God, and but it's really more because he's dealing with a spiritual level of toddlers. Because they get mad and they're ripping their clothes off, and they get, like stuff toddlers would do. But then you come forward to when when you had all those Protestants come in here, you read about some of their journeys, whether it's the Pilgrims or Puritan, like they really were risking it all. This was and they believed they were being led by God, even with all the challenges and so many of them dying, especially in the Pilgrim sect. They were risking it all. They had full faith in God, like a more mature faith in God, and they were following the shepherd's voice. See, that's key. With the Old Testament, they're not at a spiritual level to understand that, which is why too the Jews that just follow the Old Testament, they don't really believe that God would ever be among the people or be a person, which is why, a lot of them don't believe in Jesus, even though in Psalm 22 and Ezekiel, there's plenty of places where Jesus fulfilled prophecy in their book, but we recognize both books, okay? But there's a different level of belief. Like I believe like this kingdom. I mean, there's no doubt. See all the gates? Because there's like 12 pearly gates. So the other nations, the rest that are on earth, and God supplies the light, and there's the river of life, water of life, that goes throughout all of the earth, okay? And the most, godly kingdom on earth would be Old Israel, okay? So this is a good picture to describe that. We would be up here. See where the light source is? We will be living within the light source. Okay, because the whole country, there's a size and everything that it says what it is, and the height is 1,500 miles high. So that's where the whole light source will come. God will not have the sun anymore, no need for the sun and the moon, his light. Okay, so the rest of the nations, they'll be able to pilgrimage up to see God. They can go into the kingdom, America, whatever, the New Jerusalem. I'm saying America's the New Jerusalem. Okay, I've said this in many videos. So, but this would be the earthly kingdom. And the top of the most, the highest of the earthly kingdoms would be Old Jerusalem. Does that make sense? That's what makes sense to me because of the maturity level in both. I'm really not trying to say one is superior. That's not what, because anybody can go up to God's kingdom, because you see the gates. See the gates. See, it's remember, it's the gates are always open, so people can pilgrimage up there. It's not like they can't see God and only we. It's just we inhabit it. I mean, there's a reason in the Bible it says finish the race. You know, I mean, there's sort of a challenge here. You know, that's why you wanted to be in the country that was going to, you know, be the Christian nation. Here's another example of what it might look like, okay? Because it's also a golden city. And what do you see here? Yeah, oh, here's another arch because of, you know, the light source. So, here's another way to describe how the difference between the Old and New Jerusalem. So over here is the New Jerusalem and Old. So the new would be the source and the old would be the recipient. The new would be the transparent gold, jasper, 12 types of precious stone. The Old Jerusalem, still significant, purified earthly stone, gold, metals. Okay, so the New Jerusalem is 1,500 miles high, continent-sized. And then Old Jerusalem is the traditional city size because it's the earthly kingdom. The next line here, the New Jerusalem is God's, it's luminescent, is from God, but it illuminates Old Jerusalem. Old Jerusalem is illuminated because every other country is given light by God and the life water through all the kingdoms. And then as you can see here, where it would be located, the apex, and Old Jerusalem would be on the surface, still being the earthly kingdom. Okay, and so that's why I was asking Gemini. I think it was Gemini asked. In this hypothetical scenario, the Old Jerusalem would be the most blessed and beautiful of the earthly cities, but it would exist entirely within the overwhelming 1,500-mile high shadow and radiant glow of the New Jerusalem. So see, like this could be, you know, an example of the earthly Old Jerusalem, okay? And again, you know, you could look at it here, but this you're literally with this light source. So it's showing it coming down. This, I would say all of this down here would be the Old Jerusalem. That would be a more accurate picture of it, because literally up here in the light source is where the New Jerusalem is. And I showed this in my last video. We'd be up here. We'd be up here with the light source, but this is the water source. That all comes from the New Jerusalem too. It all comes from God. I thought this picture was interesting, but I don't think it's a very good, accurate one, but it's what came up under New Jerusalem. But, you know, just because it kind of reminds you of the Aurora Borealis lights. This is obviously a stupid picture looking at it, but it's trying to give you the literal sense. Like it's so high, okay? So it's so high, and it's an actual square, but huge and high, okay? So that's the New Jerusalem. I think that's America, and the Old Jerusalem still exists, and that would line up with the Bible more too. It's the Old Jerusalem is the earthly kingdom. Again, people can come and go into the New Jerusalem. It's not like it's closed to people. It's just that you're dwelling with God. You're living there. This is another picture, but it's not as, I like the other ones better. When they're more, you know, showing the gates. So people would pilgrimage to see God because it's his temple. We would be living in the temple because the whole country would be the temple and God's dwelling place. So people would naturally pilgrimage there, which is why the gate, it's an open gate, but it has, you know, walls, but so that people can come there and worship God and see God. And so it's just a matter of what level you're at. Pretty interesting. Love for it to happen.